The wind in the willows, the riverbank. The mole had been working very hard all morning, spring cleaning his little home. He had dust in his throat and eyes, and splashes of paint all over his black fur. His back was aching, and his arms were weary. Suddenly, he flung down his brush on the floor. "Oh, darn! Forget about spring cleaning," he said. Then he bolted out of the house without even waiting to put on his coat. He headed for a steep little tunnel outside. "Up we go," he said, as he scraped and scrabbled, working busily with his little paws. At last, pop! His snout came out into the sunlight, and he found himself rolling in the warm grass of a great meadow. "This is better than painting," he said to himself. In the delight of spring without its cleaning, he rambled all through the meadow, and instead of having a guilty conscience about not doing his spring cleaning, he felt good about being idle. Suddenly, he came to a river. Never in his life had he seen a river before. All was a shake and a shiver, glints and gleams and sparkles, rustle and swirl, chatter and bubble. Mole was fascinated. A dark hole in the opposite bank, just above the water's edge, caught his eye. As he gazed, something bright and small seemed to twinkle in the heart of it. Then, as he looked, it winked at him. It was an eye. A little brown face with whiskers gradually appeared, small neat ears and thick silky hair. It was the water rat. The two animals stood and looked at each other curiously. "Hello, Mole," said the water rat. "Hello, Rat," said the mole. "Would you like to come over?" asked the rat. He stepped into a little boat, paddled briskly across the river, and secured the boat. Then the rat held up his front paw as the mole carefully stepped down. "Lean on that," he said. "Now then, step quickly." And Mole, to his surprise and delight, found himself actually seated in the stern of a real boat. "This has been a wonderful day," he said as the rat shoved off. "Do you know I've never been in a boat before in my whole life?" "What?" cried the rat, open-mouthed. "What have you been doing then?" "Is it as nice as all that?" asked Mole shyly. "Nice? It's the only thing," said the water rat solemnly as he began to row. "Believe me, my young friend, there is nothing half as much worth doing as messing about in boats. Messing about," he went on dreamily, "messing about in boats. Look ahead, Rat!" cried the mole suddenly. It was too late. The boat struck the bank full tilt, and Rat lay on his back at the bottom of the boat. He picked himself up with a pleasant laugh. "Look here! If you've really nothing else to do this morning, suppose we go down the river together and make a day of it." The mole wiggled his toes from sheer happiness. "What a day I'm having! Let us start at once," he said. "Hold on a minute then," said the rat. He tied the boat to the landing stage and climbed back into his hole above. Soon he reappeared with a fat wicker luncheon basket. "Shove that under your feet," he said to the mole. Then he untied the boat and took the oars again. Mole trailed a paw in the water while the water rat paddled on steadily. "What lies over there?" Mole asked, waving a paw. "That? Oh, that's just the wildwood," answered the rat. "We don't go there much. We're river bankers." "And beyond the wildwood?" Mole asked. "Beyond the wildwood comes the wide world," said the rat. "I've never been there, and I'm never going. Nor you either, if you've got any sense at all. Now then, here's our backwater at last, where we're going to lunch." The rat brought the boat alongside the bank and secured it. He helped the still awkward mole safely ashore and swung out the luncheon basket. His excited friend shook out the tablecloth and spread it. Then he took out all the mysterious packages one by one. "Oh my! Oh my!" he exclaimed at each in turn. When all was ready, Rat said, "Now go ahead and eat, my friend." From where they sat, they could see a glimpse of a main stream across the island that separated them. Just then, another boat flashed into view. The rower, a short stout toad, splashed badly and rolled a good deal. "He'll be out of the boat in a minute if he rolls like that," said the rat. "Well, well, I suppose we ought to be moving. I wonder which of us ought to pack the luncheon basket." "Oh, please let me," said the mole. So of course Rat let him. Packing the basket was not quite as pleasant work as unpacking it. The afternoon sun was getting low as the rat paddled gently homeward. Already Mole was quite at home in a boat, so he thought. He was getting a bit restless, and soon he said, "Ratty, please, I want to row now." The rat shook his head with a smile. "Not yet, my young friend," he said. "Wait until you've had a few lessons. It's not as easy as it looks." The mole was quiet for a moment or two. He began to feel jealous of Rat. His pride began to whisper that he could do it just as well. Suddenly, he jumped up and grabbed the oars. Rat was taken by surprise and fell backwards off his seat. "Stop it, you silly fool!" cried the rat from the bottom of the boat. The mole made a great dig at the water. He missed the surface altogether. His legs flew up above his head. The next moment, splash! Over went the boat, and he found himself struggling in the river. Oh my, how cold the water was! How it sang in the ears as he went down, down. Then a firm paw gripped him by the back of his neck. It was the rat. Laughing, Rat pushed the helpless animal ashore. Then he hauled him onto the bank. Mole was a squashy lump of misery. The rat rubbed him down a bit and wrung some of the wetness out of him. "Now," he said, "trot up and down until you're warm and dry again, while I dive for the luncheon basket." When all was ready to start once more, the mole took his place in the boat. In a low voice he said, "Ratty, I'm very sorry. I feel so badly when I think how I might have lost that beautiful luncheon basket. I have been a complete fool. Will you forgive me?" "That's all right," answered the rat cheerily. "What's a little wetness to a water rat? I'm more in the water than out of it most days. Look here, I really think you had better stay with me for a little while. My house is very simple, not like Toad's fine house, but you haven't seen that yet. Still, I can make you comfortable, and I'll teach you to row and to swim." The mole was so touched by his kindness that he could find no voice to answer him. When they got home, the rat made a bright fire in the living room and sat Mole in an armchair in front of it. He told him river stories until supper time. Supper was a most cheerful meal. Shortly afterwards, a terribly sleepy mole had to be escorted upstairs to the best bedroom. He laid his head on the pillow in great peace and was soon fast asleep. This day was only the first of many similar ones for Mole. Each of them was longer and full of interest as the summer progressed. He learned to swim and to row, and with his ear to the reed stems, he could sometimes catch what the wind whispered among them.